someone commented on one of my videos asking for advice on a situation that they find themselves in with one of their family members. So it's their sister who's been living with them for a long period of time and initially promised to find work and to get herself up on her feet and become independent and move out. But after X amount of time is still living with them, still not contributing at all, still pleading whichever new excuse to keep from looking for a job, to keep from helping to keep the house clean and things like that. So I think a lot of us will have experienced something similar, maybe not us personally, but someone we know. It's a pretty common experience because it taps into that that part of human nature that's almost like giving up and feeling powerless and feeling like we have no control, but also with a tinge of nastiness, which is that manipulation, that willingness to put someone else through a crap time in order to get what you want. So, how do you deal with a situation like this? Because especially when you're dealing with family, it's pretty uncomfortable. You feel obligated to help. You feel like you should help, even if you don't want to, even if they're not helping themselves. And maybe you even have family members pressuring you to keep helping despite the financial pressure it might put on you, or the chores it adds onto your plate, or the this and the that. So the first thing we got to take into consideration is, what does it really mean to support someone? Because there's a difference between helping someone empower themselves and helping someone disempower themselves, which in this example, what you're doing is actually disempowering someone. You're helping them to continue their cycle of disempowerment by giving someone that comfortable place to be where there's nothing that's asked of them, there's nothing that they have to do. They get everything they need, and it takes minimal effort. By continuing to give that, they have no reason necessarily in that mindset to change anything, to seek something different, to push their boundaries. So, first of all, if I place myself in that position, that disempowered, depending on others, there's a degree of shame in it, because I wouldn't have wanted to be in that position in the first place. But then after some period of time, that shame kind of turns into this comfort, this safe feeling, this this cushion that I can kind of sink into and not really think about the shame anymore, and not really think about goals, and not really think about all the things that I might otherwise be thinking about. So this obviously is not going to apply to every single situation. Sometimes people need a little bit more help, or it takes them a little bit longer to work through something. However, if in the situation it is becoming extreme, if you're supporting someone and they are dipping into this cycle of powerlessness and of comfort in not really growing, not really pushing themselves, not supporting themselves, then at the very least, you can start looking at how you can change the equation. So it doesn't mean you need to throw someone out on the streets and say, okay, well, you're on your own now, bub, sorry. Because that might not necessarily help either. But if a plain old conversation, without guilt tripping them, because I think it's probably pretty, it should be obvious that if someone's in that position, they know how to live with guilt, they know how to live with shame, and all you would do by guilt tripping them is kind of add to that, and they'd still feel shit about themselves, but still not doing anything about it. So don't guilt trip them. Just be practical. Just say, look, this is the position I'm in now. This is what I see you doing. This is why I think that we need to change. What's your perspective? Now, they're going to participate in the conversation or not. If that doesn't bring results, then if they're in your space, start setting boundaries and actually enforce them. If they need to contribute to housekeeping, start enforcing that. If they don't live by your basic house principles, then there must be a consequence. It doesn't need to be like you change immediately within 1 week, 180 degrees, or I'm going to kick you out. But over a period of time, let's say, just for the sake of this video, over a month, if they're still not doing anything at all, if there's no change happening at all, the consequence, whatever you decide it is, if it is saying to them, look, you're not contributing, you're not changing, you're not making an effort, I cannot support you anymore, I need you to find somewhere else to live. Some people might actually need that. And as terrible of a position as it puts you in, sometimes you need to be willing to do things that go against what you think is nice and right. Because we don't have a perfect world. We don't have a perfect human. We have people who fall into these cycles. We have people who are not willing to support themselves if they're in a comfortable position or if they're in an uncomfortable position. And if there's someone in your life who's making no effort, who's not supporting, who's not helping themselves, and who is compromising your life, then start creating changes and start being willing to make difficult choices. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. I mean, if you look at it in the other direction, does you empowering this person to continue to disempower themselves make you a bad person? So it's a crap situation all around. But at the end of the day, people need to make their own choices, live their own lives, and face their own consequences. And if they're in this protected bubble where they have no consequences, where they have nothing that connects them to the reality of life on earth as it is now, well, then you're doing a disservice to them by keeping them in that bubble. So, as terrible as a situation like that is, be willing to make hard choices. And obviously what's important within that is to not be emotional while you're making these choices, not be emotional while you're talking to that person. Deal with your emotions on your own, get yourself to a point where you're clear and stable, and you can have a conversation without getting angry or hurt or whatever, frustrated. You can have a conversation and just stick to practical, find solutions and make choices. And just take it one step at a time and do what you can. And then, yeah, be willing to make those hard choices. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. You're going to see me next time.